Hey everyone. So today we're going to learn how to memorize 11 items in 5 minutes. The technique we're going to use is Memory Palace, and the palace is here. Memory Palace works by creating a location that you know, like the back of your hand, in your mind, and then placing items in that location and then walking through the location again when you need to remember whatever it is you're memorizing. So today we're going to do a list. We're going to start off simple, but you can use the palace to memorize phone numbers, dates, chronological list of the prime ministers of Canada. You can memorize the first 100 digits of pi. You can memorize all the bones in your legs. Anything you want to remember, you can use the palace. But today we're going to start off really easy and memorize a list of items that Grace Jones, the singer and supermodel, requires in her dressing room. So let's get started. First item on the list that we're going to memorize is unopened oysters on ice. So when you start with your first item, let's start right at the beginning of your childhood home. So I want you to picture in your mind entering your childhood home. So you're at the front door, and now let's picture unopened oysters on ice. So you want to make the image that you're creating of the item as absurd as you can, as memorable as you can, and as tactile and using all your senses as you can. Which sounds like a lot, but it's your imagination, and your imagination is incredible, and you can so quickly come up with something. But today we'll use my imagination just as an example. So you're at the front door, and as you're opening the door, your feet crash against a pile of unopened oysters on ice. And they're unopened because they look like pebbles. So you're walking into them. They're in a pile of ice, and the ice cubes are cold against your feet. And you have to sort of wade through this pile of unopened oysters on ice just to get open to the front door. Okay, so that's item 1. Item 2 is sashimi. Sashimi, you open the front door, you've just waded through the oysters. You go to turn on the light, and the light switch, instead of a light switch, is a big piece of salmon sashimi. It's squishy, it's cold, you can feel little grains of rice. You reach over, try to turn on the light, you can't. It's a piece of sashimi, okay? Item 3 on the list, 6 fresh lemons. So you're able to turn on the light even though it's a piece of sashimi, and on the ground are 6 fresh lemons, and we'll remember 6 because one of the lemons has a buzz cut. The zest of the lemon is cut away in the shape, you know how Drake, picture one of the Drake buzz cuts, that's what one of the lemons has. So 6 Drake, 6, you know how he branded Toronto. So that's the 6 lemons on the floor. Okay, now let's go back and redo those 3 just to solidify them in our mind. So I want you to really picture your childhood home as if just go through it in your mind, your whole home. But start at the front door and continue through it like you would as if you really were walking through it. So at the front door, there's a huge pile of unopened oysters on ice, and they're on ice because you have to wade through them and you feel the cold of the ice. You go to turn on the light switch, but the light switch is a piece of salmon sashimi. We'll just say sashimi because on the list it's just sashimi. Sashimi, any type you want. Really see it in your mind and feel the squishiness of it as you're trying to turn on the light, but it's sashimi. The light turns on to reveal 6 fresh lemons on the ground. And you remember that it's 6 because one of the lemons has a buzz cut, just like how Drake has 6 lemons, and they're all on the floor. Next on the list is a bottle of Tabasco sauce. And one tip, try to connect the images as you're coming up with the story in your childhood house. Try to connect the images, and that way your mind will easily be able to jump from one to the next because you're creating a story in a sense. So our 3rd item was 6 fresh lemons. Our 4th item is bottle of Tabasco sauce. So because the 6 fresh lemons, one of them has a haircut like Drake, we're going to picture an enormous, and let's be in the kitchen now. You've turned on the light, you're in the kitchen of your childhood home. Now picture an enormous Tabasco bottle, and it's like dancing around to the Drake music, and like spouts of hot sauce, or like spurting from its top and falling down like confetti. Just go with it. It's your imagination. It can be ridiculous. The more ridiculous, the better. So a giant, big bottle of Tabasco sauce is dancing, and it's spurting out hot sauce. Next item on the list, item number 5, plate of fresh fruit. The fresh fruit it doesn't want to be sprayed by the hot sauce, so it's cowering and it's trying to roll off the plate. And there's pieces of cantaloupe, grape, watermelon, whatever is on a fresh fruit platter. It's your imagination, you picture it. But this fresh fruit does not want to be hit by the hot sauce, so it's rolling around. Some of it's rolling off the floor, which brings us to our next item, the 6th item, bottle of Coke. The fruit knocks the bottle of Coke onto the floor. The bottle of Coke rolls down the hallway of your childhood home. Now really picture it rolling. Hear it on the ground rolling. See the red label going round and round. See the brown liquid carbonation starting to happen. Which brings us to our 6th item, case of sparkling water. So the Coke bottle rolls into a case of sparkling water. Now you can be literal in your imagination. So the case of water could be, I know it actually means a case of Perrier, but because it's in our imagination, you can get extremely literal with it. And it's a case of clear water. And picture, now you're in a room with a window, and the sunlight's coming through, and it's making the water sparkle. So see the sparkles and how, like in an aquarium, when water comes through, the water glimmers. So try to picture this case of sparkling water there. Okay. Item number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on the list is an oyster knife. So this one's connected to the case of water because the oyster is standing on top of the case of water, and it's got a knife, and it's threatening people. And just make it absurd. It'll be way easier to remember. It doesn't matter if it's ridiculous. But the oyster somehow is alive, and it has a knife and little arms and legs, and it's standing on top of the case of sparkling water. Now, next item on the list is a makeup mirror. So now imagine the oyster with the knife, which is the oyster knife, as the item title on our list. Now, he's worked up a sweat, threatening people. He needs to fix his makeup. So he turns next to, picture a childhood room. It has a shelf. Does it have a fireplace? Some sort of shelf, bookshelf. So the oyster goes to the shelf in your childhood home where there's a little miniature-sized, oyster-sized makeup mirror. And it's, redoing its lipstick, I don't know, its foundation, fixing its hair, because it was wildly waving around a knife. It got a little, messed up, wants to look nice. Next on the list is towels. Okay, so towels, now you can go into another room. I obviously don't know the layout of your childhood home, but you do, you know it really well. So go into the next room and picture, the oyster says he wants a towel because he's sweaty. So you go into a room and there's a huge pile of white, fluffy, clean smelling towels. And you take one off and you're about to go back to the other room to give it to the oyster when you notice the next item on the list, which is clothes hanger. So for this, you can picture maybe on the wall behind the pile of towels, you see a nail, and there's a single hanger hanging on it, and you think to yourself, this must be where I can put the towel when I'm done with it. But instead you realize, and this is the final item on our list, bouquet of flowers. Hanging at the bottom of the clothes hanger by a rope is a bouquet of flowers. And you can make this your favorite type of flowers. I'll pick white lilies, I don't know why. And the white lilies are hanging from the clothes hanger by a string. And you realize, oh, I can't put the used towel there when the oyster's done with it. Okay, and that's the list. I know it was really fast and really weird, but this works. So now we'll just run through everything again, and I guarantee you After you clearly walk through this and really picture each image in your mind and how they interact with each other, following the path through your childhood home, you'll be able to get a piece of paper